Your show now, press 1.
Your show is scheduled to start in 40 seconds. Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh Polly, it's for your sake alone. I left my dear old father, my country and my home. I left my dear old mother to weep and to mourn. I am a rebel soldier and far from my home. It's grape shot and musket and the cannon lumber loud. There's many a mangled body, the blanket for their shroud. There's many a mangled body left on the fields alone. I am a rebel soldier and far from my home.
Okay, thanks for joining me on the show here. I'm your host, James White, and indeed, I am a rebel soldier far from my home, and my guests can probably claim the same thing. Kind of feel a little bit out of place in this world sometimes because things are so crazy. And tell you folks, like nothing I've ever seen before. I'm not going to waste any time by bringing our guests on here. It's the usual crew here on the weekends: Dave vonKleist, Kelli Higgins, and Jason Q Janiszewski. Let me take them all off of mute here. See if I can do my production job here like I'm supposed to, directing anyway. And then here we go. Everybody should be Dave. Just click your mic, Dave, and you'll be off. I think you just have to hit a button, then you're good to go. And then Dave will be with us. There he is, right there. Hello, everybody.
I think I'm here now.
He's got the funny foot pedal thing going. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. It's great to be on the broadcast on this 30th day of January, and we're coming to you live. Now, as you can see, what's different today than the last times is they're not sitting behind me here. They're at their own. We're at their own places. Everybody's at their comfort of their own home. We got all that stuff connected and linked up, and here we are. We're ready to go. Great to see all you guys today. It's always good to be here.
Great to be here. Glad to be back. It's been a while.
What up, James?
Hey, what up? I can only make this thing so big here, so I'm going to try to get us equal, video frame size, but it's not going to be exactly perfect. But at any rate, I don't think that's really the important thing. So, I'm going to start off here. I'm going to start off, if I can, with a little bit of a just kind of a recap of how I see things. And then certainly you guys can all go around the room and give yours if you like. But I think one of the things we're seeing here, especially, and we can talk about this whole GameStop thing, I think what we're seeing here is the people are starting to realize that was a catalyst. That was a huge catalyst. This whole thing where they if not familiar folks with the short selling, and the people on Reddit got together. They joined together. They started buying the stock, drove the price up, and cost these hedge fund managers, I mean, just billions of dollars. But that's not the point. The money wasn't the point. The point was I think people are finally getting it, you guys, that together we are strong, divided we are weak. And we said on this show before, the thing that keeps these scoundrels awake at night and brings them cold sweats is thinking that we're all getting together and realizing that they're the enemies, not your neighbor, not the guy that's got a different yard sign. That's not your enemies. No, it's these scoundrels at the top, this establishment scoundrels that rape and rob and pillage us on a regular basis. That's my opening statement. Anybody else can pick up and go from there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it was great to watch. happen. I also watch like the foreign exchange markets as well, and what they've been doing this week has just been funny. I've been in it since before like all the transitions happened. I noticed a massive change in March last year that happened with the markets, and even their patterns completely changed. So this was a big one. It really opened some people's eyes about, not just are the systems rigged and everything else. Well, guess what? Wall Street and Main Street, it's rigged against us as well. And that just completely exposed it this week. It was fantastic.
No doubt. Jason, Dave, what are you guys thinking?
Go ahead, Jason. You take it.
Yeah, it didn't take long for them to realize that the whole system's rigged against us. So as long as we stick together, we can rig it right back towards them. That's all we have to do is just the only thing we have to do is stick together. No matter what, thick or thin, just stay together. You see a lot of people jumping ship about President Trump, about this, that. Just stay together. We just all have to stay together. Together with it. That's our strength. Is all together. So just please, whatever you do, don't stray away from the plan. Don't stray away from your fellow man or anything, because we're all in this together. Just stick by everyone and we'll all be all right.
I couldn't help but smile when I heard that they lost $71 billion. Oh my gosh. $71 billion on this whole thing. I've never been one for following the stock market, but I know that there's a lot of skullduggery that goes on, and some of the skullduggers got skulled. I don't know.
We all know what you want to say, Dave.
We've got somebody.
I was just saying,
That's why I said skulled.
I was just saying the same thing. I'm like,
yeah, we got to watch it.
We've got someone from England. Someone from England tuning in here on the chat room, sending hello from England. It's good to.
All right.
It's good to see our brothers and
Love
sisters.
our worldly friends.
Yeah.
Good night.
I think we want to get. I think we want to get along. I don't want turmoil and strife and all that. Who wants that, man? I just want to be just be able to live my life, raise my children properly in a world that's not full of evil and evildoers. And otherwise, what's the compulsion with these people just to want to run things? I mean, did you see now the new anal swabs? I mean, can it be any more humiliating?
Oh my God!
Any more humiliating to the public? Then that's the best way now to get tested for COVID. I mean, I can't believe it. I almost fell over. I can't believe it. I mean, can they be any more demeaning?
Moon us as you drive by.
Whatever you do, don't fall over on your stomach.
Yeah, right. I mean, for Pete's sake, man. I mean, it's a level of madness that I didn't even think we'd ever see in this country. But it's crazy, folks. I mean, now, as far as overall... Hey, Callie in the house. As far as Kalispell in the house, right here in the hometown of Kalispell here, right where this broadcast is coming from. So as far as I'm seeing things, you guys, and you certainly can chime in whenever. I'm seeing that from my view, and you can call me names. Like I said, we've done it before. I think that Trump is basically in control, not of everything totally, but of the important elements of things. I published an article yesterday. I only saw him go on Marine One for the first time yesterday. Otherwise, he had not really been doing the normal presidential stuff. He signed 40 executive orders, almost like he's on a race or something. Like he's got to get them done in a certain period of time. Something's afoot. Is anybody? I think it's basically 10 days in a row now. I don't know if it means anything. Dates are what always kill you. But 10 days in a row now, the White House has been dark. I don't know if that means anything. Go ahead.
I just want to throw something in. I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Jason can correct me. I understand that when an executive order is signed, it doesn't go into effect for 30 days. Is that correct?
I don't know if I've heard that, David. That may be right. I know it takes them a few days to put it on the registry.
I think they have 30 days before it actually goes into effect. So, I mean, if that's the case, he can write 100 or 1,000 executive orders. What's going to happen between now and let's say, mid-February, somewhere around in there? lots of things are going to change.
Well, how would that jive with them? How would that jive? What confuses me, and that's one of the things I was confused about. I don't know if Dave, you and I were talking about it, Dave, or somebody else. But I was wondering, if Biden doesn't have any real power, how come these? I was Ron Gibson I was talking to. How come they're laying people off on the pipeline? So they have to believe that Joe Biden is running things in some aspect. I mean, it seems like he may be running certain departments, but not the military. Is that kind of what you guys are hearing?
Well, the thing is, with them laying people off on the pipeline with the union workers, because when I was in the union, I mean, they stressed Democrat, 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 Democrat. You have to vote Democrat, no matter who the opposition is. Democrat, Democrat. Now, look what Democrats have done for you. Remember, President Trump was a Democrat before he became a Republican. He's neither. He doesn't want to be on the same bird. There's two wings on the same bird. He doesn't want to be on that bird. He wants to be on a complete separate bird. He wants to be on a patriotic bird. He wants to be on a bird for all Americans, for all of the world. He wants what's best for humanity, because we're all in this together. No matter how we slice it or dice it, we have to stay together.
When you look at the excessiveness of what Biden has done, though, take it to a smaller level. What has it done? It has shown the egregiousness of what he's done. What has that done? It has woken up the left and the Democrats to where now they're at the point where in mass droves, they regret voting for him because he lied, obviously, blatantly. He also made a statement saying that, you need to get the votes because if you're just going to sit there and do executive orders, you're nothing more than a dictator. Well, he's just shown you, guess what? I'm going to be a dictator. I lied about everything. And now you're just going to have to suck it up and deal with it because that's what we do. We manipulated you to get what we wanted. And now we're in and now we're going to do what we want, and that's what it all comes down to. But I love that it's waking them up because, I went through something yesterday, a very long video, but it brought me back to a reality point. Everything that's happening is to be as absolutely gracious and compassionate to have people come to the realization of what the truth is without messing up their heads to make them feel that they're insane. This is a baby step process. Every little drip that keeps coming out is a baby step of getting people to wake up. And I think that this last 10 days, week and a half that he has been signing these executive orders was to do one thing. And that was to get them to realize exactly just how bad these guys really are and what they're capable of doing, because they had to be shown. They couldn't be told it was going to happen. We screamed it. We screamed this is what was going to happen and nobody listened. And then it happened. And now they're seeing it and they're just waking up in droves. And I'm glad. That's what we needed them to do.
I think they're realizing that being laid off from their job is a lot more harmful than mean tweets. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that people didn't like Trump is he's very mean on his tweets. Yeah, but you know what he's up against? He's up against, absolute criminals. I mean, they prove themselves to be criminals. I think we've got a lot of people that are guilty of treason and trying to overthrow, a sitting president. Now, do I think that, they're going to come to justice? I certainly hope they are. I'm understanding that, somebody entered did you guys, somebody entered the room here that wants to get in the meeting that I'm not really sure who this is. You guys know someone named Kevin? Did you invite someone named Kevin? Anybody invite anybody named Kevin?
No.
Interesting.
I didn't send out this link to anybody.
Funny. Okay, well, I'm not going to let him in the waiting room then. Isn't that weird? That's the first time it's ever happened. First time it's ever happened. Anyway, I lost my point. That thing popped up and distracted me somewhat. But I guess my thought is there's going to have to be now they're building that structure. And David, I know what I want to say. David, you sent me a message I think a couple of days ago where it looks like they were taking down that structure. Somebody else sent another video. Yeah. It looks like they're building onto it. Looks like they're adding onto it. What do you guys think that structure is out there in front?
I've seen people standing at the top of the structure. It was mostly news people in some other photos and videos that I've come across. Don't know what that structure is, but Man, I'd like to speculate on some things, but who knows?
I've seen people standing at the.
You got a little extra feedback going on?
No, that was my fault. I'm sorry. I opened up a page.
Oh, okay. No problem. Now, Dave, we want to know what usually happens. You guys know when the pressure gets on the establishment. What do they usually do? They usually run some sort of a false flag operation or do some other thing to distract the public. This isn't the first.
That's what I'm concerned about right now. Is
Right.
We're coming up next weekend. Is Super Bowl 55, and I'm a bit concerned that we might see some event occur. I'm not wishing any ill will or anything like that, but I've been talking to several friends of mine, and they were saying, the deep state needs a false flag right about now. They really need something to distract people away and create a national emergency. So, I'm really fearful of that possibility. Hopefully, the military will be able to snuff that thing out before it happens.
Really, it's the 55th Super Bowl?
Yep.
I never even paid attention to
Super
that.
Bowl 55. It's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh, my God, a match made in heaven. It's Mahomes versus Brady. Don't miss it.
We've got a hello to Texas. We've got Windsor here. I'm assuming that's Windsor, Ontario. We've got Michigan here in the house. And who else we have here? Of course, we said Kalispell. Appreciate everybody tuning in here on the show. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do, if we can here, let's do a recap of where we stand right now. I certainly can go first. What I'm thinking is we're in a process right now. I think you guys brought it up earlier. It was aptly put that I think we're in a point where we have to wake up the normies, I guess, in a sense, or people that really haven't been red-pilled, to use a term, the Matrix term. I think that's what this time is right here, is to get them awake and aware of what's going on. And I think what Trump really wants, or the military apparently at this point, is they don't want to install Trump to look like a dictator. They want the folks to say, hey, this administration sucks. They're anti-American. Let's bring Trump back. Is it too late? Because they've done something now with Arizona. I think they've approved some sort of an audit, and I think that's the second place they've approved some sort of an audit. So I don't know if they can go back after this whole thing's happened, and if they find out there was voter fraud, does that spark a new election or anything? Do you guys know anything about that?
Well,
I really don't know. Kind of crazy.
The Insurrection Act has already been installed.
That's what I understand.
The military, we're already dealing with martial law. Whether you've been physically told by your news station or not, if you don't understand, go look. There's data points there. I truly believe the military already has the proof about the election, and that's why they're going through what they're going through right now, so that they can take what they need to do it the proper way, and then show the people what election fraud happened. And then once it's shown, like in its true essence, Biden's sure as heck not going to be in there once they show people all of the fraud that was done. If nobody was paying attention through the different hearings that Rudy and Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell and everybody that was putting out, if you weren't watching those things, you're not going to see it anywhere else. And that's okay. But even those things didn't show everything. I have come across information that shows that they have exactly timestamp the machine that it was done with, who was operating the machine at the time, and what was changed. So they have every single data point on the whole thing. And if you have that, and it just hasn't been exposed to the massive populace because it's just not time yet, well, those people that were trying to still, come to the grasp of understanding of what's going on, we have to have some compassion there. We have to realize some of these people weren't ready yet. They weren't physically ready. They weren't mentally ready. This is a very difficult process. Some of us woke up really quickly, went through the traumas of understanding everything, and were able to come to grips with it. But not everybody has that same kind of mindset or that capacity that I do to deal with that. And we have to be compassionate to that. And that's something everybody has to remember in this process. As much as you, me, Dave, and James, as much as we want this whole thing to flip, it be exposed, we're ready for it, there are still millions that aren't. And we got to get there, and we'll get there.
You know, I want to jump in there for a second, Kelly. I want to underline what you were just saying. Somehow we've got to get through to these masses and help them to wake up and help them to understand that they've been flat out lied to, gaslighted, they've been manipulated, all of the above. And that's one of the things. I've set this up a little bit earlier with James, and I don't know if you want to get into that right now, but one of the things that didn't just light a fire under my butt, but stuck a stick of dynamite up there was the Oklahoma City bombing. That's when I started my talk radio career on WATR in Waterbury. And that was 26 years ago now. And the blatant manipulation, complete fabrication of what was going on then was pushed onto the American people, but the American people didn't know what really happened in Oklahoma City. And if you knew the truth versus what they showed you, you'd see how if they did this 26 years ago, imagine all the events that we've had to deal with since then that were all fabrications. And we have to convince the American people, especially the left, the liberals, that they're getting their information from the networks who are just flat out lying to them. I mean, just making stuff up. It's a total fantasy. It's a movie. Oh, and by the way, Trish texted on Facebook and she said, yeah, it is 30 days. So we're on that.
Well, and Dave, we can't convince them though. It's not about convincing. I mean, we can show all the data points that we want. What's going to happen is there's going to be one data point that resonates with them, that personally affects them. And I think a lot of these executive orders finally started to do that. It started to actually affect them in a negative way, in a fashion that they didn't think was coming. And that's what's starting to wake them up. And that's an unfortunate piece of this. Unless it has something that personally resonates you or affects you, you can be completely oblivious to it. But once it affects you, then you have that emotional involvement, and that emotional involvement is what will bring that around. You know, I can't convince anyone. Free will.
Do you do the board thing, Jason? Do you do the things on the board? Do you ever go on any of those the boards, the chat boards, like the chans and stuff like that? I don't really go on there very much. But that right there, from my understanding, is that that brought people together. That whole GameStop thing, it brought liberals and conservatives together, because frankly, the gaming community goes across all party lines. I mean, there's gamers in all, they're libertarians, and it doesn't matter. And that they sort of, what you said, Kelly, the executive orders, and with this GameStop thing, I think this is just one more event that's kind of really bringing people together. Although it looks chaotic, order out of chaos, right? Isn't that their motto?
It's going to create unity, because now they're seeing and reflecting and having the same issues that we've been screaming about. So now it's bringing us together. We all have the same problem. It's up here. We got to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But this is just getting them to realize about the problem, so they can, so that veil is the curtain's a little bit more open. The veil's a little bit more dropped. And as more things come out, it's going to start clicking just more and more. But this was like, hey, we cracked the curtain. Do you see what's back here? It did that. And that's what we needed it to do.
Well, why the curtain's open, that's a good segue. Why the curtain's open, you guys want to look back into the Oklahoma City bombing and investigate that a little bit more. We've got some videos ready to get. I
wanted to use that as an example. And again, I'm reaching out to the liberals, the left-wingers out there that unfortunately have been so miserably misled. And like I said, it's been going on for a long time. And I sent James a couple of clips. And I'm using this as an example. And again, this is something that really fired me up, because while the rest of the country was being force-fed O.J. Simpson updates every 15 minutes, I was doing my radio show saying, well, hey, folks, welcome to No J Radio. If you want an O.J. update, turn the dial. I don't want your listenership. We had 187 people who were killed in Oklahoma City, and nobody wants to talk about what happened. So I tell you what, Jim, and hey, guys, I don't need to commandeer this, but I think this is a very important point that needs to be made for all the folks who just don't understand how bad the manipulation and propaganda is. It's refined, it's pharmaceutical grade, it's absolutely pure BS. So anyway, Jim, if you'll play the clip that was from ABC, as it was sort of like a reminder of what happened on April 19th in Oklahoma City. just a couple seconds of that, and then I'll show you what really happened.
Yeah, I'll just play it. I'll play about a minute of it because I think it's not very long.
Yeah, you'll get the idea.
There we go.
When they start telling you who did it.
Major explosion in Oklahoma City in a federal building.
The devastation was hard to comprehend. 168 killed, 680 injured, and another 324 buildings damaged or destroyed. Until 9/11, it was the deadliest terror attack in U.S. history, this time committed by Americans. Anti-government extremist Timothy McVeigh executed for the crime, and Terry Nichols still serving a life sentence.
Makes me...
Okay, you got that? You got that?
P.J. Allen's
Okay,
entire life has been intertwined.
Okay, you got that? They said it was Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols. They were extremist right-wing terrorists, and they were trying to push everything on militias and patriots and all this other stuff. And they said it was a truck bomb, okay? And you may have noticed in the footage, the flyover, there was no crater in that. Now, so that's the official story. That's what they force-fed the American people. Now let's take a look at the original newscasts that were broadcast live in Oklahoma City from several different network affiliate stations. This is before the feds got there and before the networks got in there and began to, shall we say, massage the information. Now you get to see what really happened. You want to play that montage there, James?
Yeah, it should start up here when I hit this button here. Let's hope it's loaded right.
Oklahoma County Bomb Squad, it's their bomb disposal unit essentially is what it is, and it is what they would use to, if the report that we gave you just a few moments ago turns out to be correct, that they have found a second explosive device of some kind inside this building, they'll back that trailer down there, and the bomb squad folks will go in, and they will use that trailer. You see the bucket on the back there, sort of, this is how they would transport the explosive device away from this populated area to try to do something with it.
Confirmed through federal authorities that a second bomb has been found inside that federal building in Oklahoma City. It was an explosion at 9 o'clock this morning that did that damage you're looking at right there, blowing off the entire north face of that building. Again, you're looking at the north face there. A second bomb was found on the east side of that building. A bomb squad is on the scene. That second bomb has not exploded. We don't know quite the status yet, if they've managed to defuse it, but it has been confirmed that a second bomb was found on the east side of that building.
I just took a look down the street at the Morrow building again. I see another bomb truck going, so apparently they're going to try to get out that third bomb that's been talked about. Still a lot of activity around the Morrow building. Security concerns that another one still might go off. That's what everybody's worried about.
At the present time, the medical teams downtown are unable to get into the wreckage to retrieve more of the injured because of the presence of other bombs in the area. I've been told by the police department that just as soon as those bombs are defused, they will permit the medical teams to enter.
Just for a second, we want to update our audience that the Justice Department is reporting that a second explosive device has been found in the A.P. Murrah building in downtown Oklahoma City. Mike, you're still with us, aren't you?
Yes, I am, and I might tell you in addition to that, that in fact what we were told at the scene a few minutes ago was that in fact 2 different explosive devices were found in addition to the one that went off.
So a total of 3,
A total of 3, and of course then there was mass confusion whenever there were hundreds of spectators in the area, and when they heard that there were other bombs in the building, people were running from the area in the opposite direction as fast as they could.
Utter devastation that one explosion caused, because here's now what we are starting to learn about the succession, or what someone obviously hoped would be a succession of explosions. The first bomb that was in the federal building did go off. It did the damage that you see right there. The second explosive was found and diffused. The third explosive that was found, and they are working on right now as we speak, I understand, both the second and third explosives, if you can imagine this, were larger than the first. So try to imagine
I think we have the general
threefold
history
happening,
idea. I don't want to use
what we've already seen there. It is just incredible to think.
All right, now I want to underline how important this is. The networks told you it was a truck bomb. They told you it was Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols. Now you just heard what the live broadcasts were, and there was no mention of a truck bomb, none. They found a second bomb. They found a third bomb. They identified it as a very sophisticated device, and that the second and third bombs were bigger than the first. Now, This is so important that people have to understand that this is standard operating procedure now with the mainstream media. They have been manipulating everybody for decades. And to make it even, to add insult to injury, those video clips that you just watched of the original broadcasts, they were posted on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I had a copy of them on a hard drive, and I noticed that it had disappeared some time ago. So I uploaded it again, and guess what? It's been taken down again because they said it was, what was it? It was, Jim, you went to look it up. It said that it was violating community standards. Oh, it was hate speech. That's what it was. Hate speech.
So what that means is they're probably going to take this video down. So we need to back. This is already being recorded right now. So folks, if this comes down, look for it on Rumble.
But you see, if they take it down, they're taking down newscasts. They're taking down history. This is what history revisionism is all about.
Exactly.
This is desperately important. The networks have got to stop. They've got to be taken over. They have to have this power wrestled from their hands, because that's one of the biggest obstacles we have right now with the is overcoming the brainwashing that has been deliberately done to the overwhelming majority of the American people who just don't know how to think outside the box. So I wanted to point that out, especially to the left, especially to the liberals, because that's where they're getting their information. Garbage in, garbage out. If your opinion is based on misinformation, disinformation, or lies, your opinion is an extension of those lies, and you're living a lie. Open up your eyes, wake up, and look at the other side of the coin, for the love of God, because we don't want to do any harm to anybody. I don't want to see this country fall into civil war between reds and blues. And that's what the powers that be want. So, I needed to get that out there because we are being lied to on everything, absolutely everything from the mainstream media. So that's my 2 cents, my little bit of a rant. I'm curious. I was watching you, Jason. Have you seen those video clips before? What's your impression?
My impression is it all stems around one name, Clinton. Have you ever noticed that?
Yeah.
Everything runs around Clinton. But the one thing that really disgusted me was where they found the fourth bomb. Was where they found it all around the whole daycare center underneath in the basement. How they found all the explosives around all the daycare center in the basement. They found it, so much, just knowing that could have gone off with children in there, that's utterly that makes me want to just vomit. It's just so disgusting. They don't care.
Well, you see, the thing that kills me is the fact that, first of all, you got a perpetrator. Somebody did this. And second of all, and this makes things worse, the media came in and covered for them. So there has to be a connection between the media moguls and the people who are pulling off these terrorist acts.
Department of Justice.
That's why we have to say goodbye to CBS, NBC, ABC, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, Newsmax. Goodbye, all of you, out the window, all of you. I think OAN is probably the only network that's out there that has any semblance of credibility whatsoever.
Right Side Broadcasting is pretty good. I like Right Side Broadcasting. They do a pretty good job. Actually.
And Liberty Northwest News,
Northwest Liberty News.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things I think that we need to be mindful of right now is a false flag. Because if you remember back then in 1996 or 95 when they blew up that the Murrah building, if you guys remember, the militia movement was really gaining steam. People were really they were doing, they showed videos, of course, like they do with with QAnon when they tried to discredit them. They showed videos of people out in the woods doing exercises and perfectly normal stuff. It's not like they were breaking any laws or anything at all. There's nothing wrong, no law against getting out in the woods together and paintballing with your friends and doing wargaming and stuff. So what? But of course they were demonized, and I think the militia movement was getting so, especially in the Michigan militia where I was from, because I was from Michigan when that went on over there. I was living in Michigan. The militia,
the Montana Freemen.
The Montana Freemen, exactly. So they had to put
back in the late 80s.
Grip on that. They had to cut that off because they couldn't, and then you couldn't even mention the word militia for like 20 years after Oklahoma City, or you were considered a an anti-American whatever. Kelly, any thoughts? Haven't heard from you in a while, dear. You all right?
Well, the old story goes, it's the winners that write the history.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so we got to look at that.
That's going to change.
Who's been king shit on Turd Mountain for a long time? Let's just look at it.
I'm leaving that one alone.
When you look at that stuff and you look at how history's been written, it's been manipulated, of course, for us to have a feeling and an understanding that it went a certain way because that's what they wanted us to feel, the way that it went. And, in regards to what Jason and stuff was talking about with the kids, they know, and we know, what is the one trigger for all of humanity. It's a love of children. And when you realize that the root of the evil on this is also around the children, that's when it clicks. That's when you start to see the fingerlings and how they're all attached. It comes down to the kids. And as a mom, yeah, I resonate with that.
Well, of course, the big question is, is society ready for that information? I mean, this is just from the stuff that I have learned just from speaking with people and the many parents and people I've talked to that's involved in, that have been involved in that whole trafficking thing. Some of the stuff that goes on is just like, I don't even want to repeat it on the radio here. I wouldn't even repeat it. Are people going to be ready for that? I don't know if they are. I don't know if people
James,
are ready for that.
I don't think anybody's ever ready, prepared, or has an ability to comprehend on how you're supposed to deal with it. But once you face it and you see it, you can process it and understand it, and you can try and do something to try and correct it. And even if all it is speaking your words of truth regarding it, that's you doing your part. Even if it's that small, if you can get your hands in, like, Underground Operation Railroad, if you can get your hands on involvement on something like that, fantastic. I don't have the ability to do that, but what I do have is I have a voice. And I can scream and shout and show proof and do everything that I can. But once you can see, nobody's going to be able to process. Every person's going to process it differently as well. Every person is different. Some people have had direct ties to situations like this that they have been holding underneath and avoiding those feelings. Well, those feelings are going to come to the surface. And some people are going to have to face some things that they have been avoiding for a long time. And that's okay. There are people here that are here to help you get through that, and just understand you absolutely can reach out, and it's going to be compassionate. And, I would sit down and talk with anybody that's going through this. I have friends that have gone through it as well. And what's coming out today is bringing up a lot of things from past lives, from our past, when we were young. That is coming to the surface, and we're now having to deal with some of those emotional things now. And that's okay, because if you can deal with it, you can try and move beyond it. But you can't tell anyone how to deal with something like this, but everyone has to realize it's been happening. We can't avoid it. You can't say there's no proof, nothing like that is really happening. It can't be that severe. It can't be as bad as what you're expressing it really is. Well, it can, and it can be worse. I really feel like even what I've been exposed to, which is some pretty gnarly stuff, I think there are things out there that are worse that have occurred. Am I prepared to deal with it? Not in the least. Am I going to have to? Probably. But I know I'll make it through. Because it's not just me dealing with it, it's all of us that will deal with it, and we'll help each other through it.
Well, I want to shout out to South Carolina, looks like West Virginia, Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah,
we appreciate all those.
We got listeners all over the world.
It's very
got folks listening from London, from let me see, I'm scrolling down here. People from North Carolina, people in Missouri. I'll get somebody here from I can't recognize the flag. It looks like Palestine. I don't know. We got people all over the world listening. Hey, folks.
Well, you know what gets me, folks, is You've seen the stories of when the floods hit the towns and everybody from the town comes together. It doesn't matter what race, color, creed they are, where they go to church. They all get together. They sandbag. They help people, move furniture or, flooded furniture, burn down, however. Everybody gets together in a community almost every time, and they come together and they solve the problem. How come that part of our humanity is not highlighted? It's always the burning buildings down. It's smashing windows. It's pulling people out of cars and beating them in the head. I mean, don't people see, Dave, like you talk about, to your point, to the people on the other side, don't you see the program that's being run? Generally, people don't want to harm each other and don't want to. They're not bigots, and they don't want to hold people down and repress other people. No, generally speaking, people just want to be left alone and like, yeah, you know what? If you work hard and do well, good for you, because I'm going to work hard on my side too. So, I mean, why don't we ever see that? Why don't we ever see all this community that comes together? We only see the strife and the division. And I tell you, it really angers me. It really angers me that we can't. It's the media again. Sorry on my tangent there. I had to go off a little bit there. Sorry about that. Hello from Texas. Pennsylvania. Anybody?
Wow.
I guess you left us all speechless there.
Sidetracked. I was trying to look at the comments so I could see what you guys are seeing.
Very rare.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I mean, we got people from Poland. Here's Poland checking in. Missouri,
Scotland.
Tennessee, Southwest UK. Texas, Scotland,
Just
Wisconsin, Florida, Mississippi, Oklahoma, all of the way, Raleigh, North Carolina, South Africa.
Everybody around the world is seeing it. What's really the big problem here is American media. Other media is talking about this stuff. They're putting videos about the adrenochrome out there. They're putting videos about Biden or Hunter's laptop and everything else. The news sources outside the United States are showing these things. It's American media. And that's what is so difficult for people to understand, is that it's our internal media system that is corrupting us, that's not allowing everybody to see it because they're not looking outside. But let me tell you, the world is awakened. And I'm thankful for it.
Indeed, Jason, you're on a lot of.
Get the rest on board.
You're on a lot of different shows here: Alabama, Oregon, Arizona. Jason, you're on a lot of shows. I think you were on with Nick Vindeman here not very long ago. Is that his name? Nick Vindeman? Is that what it is?
Yes.
Nick. What's the feel you're getting from the other people that you're on their shows as well? I mean, is that the same sentiment you're getting from them and from their audience? Is that the awakening is occurring? Because it's probably a little bit different audience. His audience is probably different than mine, and I mean, across all spectrums, it seems like they're waking up. Is that what you're getting as well?
In fact, I don't see any difference in any of the audiences. I mean, everybody's waking up. Everybody wants peace. Everybody wants light, love, light, everything. I mean, they want the same thing as we do. And that's the best part about it, is that we all are coming together. And I'm very impressed with it. Very impressed. Because no matter which show there is, it's all the same people. It's not the same exact people, but people want the same thing. They all want peace. They all want, they all want to come together. Nobody wants to be spread apart or anything like that. Everybody, it's like you said, the media is the crux of everything. The media is to blame for all of this.
Yes. And they all need to be doing hard time.
Yes. Every bit of it, it's all the media. Once we get rid of the media, you will not believe that it'll be like night and day. That's from dark to light right there. Mm-hmm. Once they get rid of the media, boop, it'll be a nice flip.
Well, the frustrating thing is, of course, when they went after Trump for collusion or whatever he did for the Ukraine phone call, whatever that was, and we had Joe Biden on video. You saw him on video saying at the Council of Foreign Relations going, well, I told him we're going to be gone in 6 hours, and if the guy's not fired, you're not getting $1 billion, and what do you know? He got fired. I mean, that was as blatant and open as you could possibly get. It didn't need any other explanation besides that video. Crickets. We get nothing from that. But Trump makes a phone call, a quote-unquote perfect phone call, and they try to impeach him. That's the media.
Because he asked about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the Denmark. Hello from Denmark. Wow, I don't think we've had a listener from Denmark yet.
No, we got. I'm watching the feed on Facebook, and we got people in Spain, South Africa, all over the world. Poland. Hi, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, everyone.
We hope that you guys are. You guys have people that are telling truth over there on your side, wherever that is. Folks, because that's going to be a real popular thing. If you're wondering what you can do for the future, be a truth teller, because it's going to be a good field to be going into. Because I'd like you guys. I don't know who said that. Was it you, Jason? That or David? Once the media gets gone, people are not going to believe. Not going to believe the truth that's been being hidden from us. And I'm talking about in technology. I'm talking about in travel. I'm talking about in energy. I'm talking about medicine. All that stuff has been not necessarily by the media, but they've been covering for the people that have been keeping it from us. I think we get rid of that whole layer of evil. Stuff's going to open up and we're going to go from a land of scarcity to a land of abundance. That's the view that I have. Anybody else?
They say that if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And what we're talking about happening right now is just an explosion, a change in the direction of humanity. I mean, we all know that there are things like Tesla technology that have been suppressed. We know that there are propulsion systems and medicinal breakthroughs that have all been withheld from humanity because of the Rockefeller mentality. Competition is sin. So they have to do away with all these other things because they're not profitable. That light bulb that never burns out. They don't want that on the market. Well, you know what? That mentality is going away. All the world's wealth that has been plundered for generations, indeed for centuries, by the multinational international bankers, by the Vatican, and by the royal palace. What if all that wealth, those trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars, is recovered and redispersed out to the rest of the world, along with releasing all the technology? This sounds too good to be true, but this is where this is heading, folks. It has to go this way. Otherwise, humanity will not survive. We can't survive as a species or even survive as a planet if these monsters are left in charge. That's what this battle is all about. This is not about right versus left, conservative, liberal. This is good versus evil. The line is drawn. And this battle is of epic proportions, because what happens in the next few weeks, not months, but weeks, is going to determine the fate of humanity. That's how serious this is. There's no turning back from here.
I had a caller, follow up on that point, Dave. I had a caller on the show yesterday. Ron Gibson was on the line. The caller asked, hey, if we do this whole reset, are people that have their retirement savings, are they still going to be covered? Are they going to be food stamps, and people that are on state aid and people that are on retirement and Social Security? Is that going to count for them? And I said, I brought up the point. I said, if they would just return all the tax money and the fines, everything that they've stolen from us in our lifetimes and given it back to the people, we wouldn't have to have these social programs, because people would actually have the money that they've been robbed from for our whole lives. They've been robbing us, man. I mean, it's been since birth, since the birth certificate. I think if they give everybody the money back that they've stolen from them, we won't need all these social programs, and people will be more accountable for themselves, and we won't have that oppressive tax system, which is crushing people, right? We won't have the fine system. We won't have all that layer of bureaucracy that is designed to keep us down and keep us impoverished, because when we're impoverished, we have to depend upon them, and that gives them power. I mean, I think that's all coming to the surface, you guys. A lot of it.
Yeah, I saw a funny, meme the other day. It was J.D. Rockefeller, and he's a tax farmer. And we are a seed of the tax farm. It's essentially what it is. He's just farming us for our money. All of them are, not just him.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, that's because we're all commodities. We got that birth certificate that makes us a commodity. They trade that on the market.
Yeah.
No, that is absolutely true.
The full faith and credit of the United States is us.
That is absolutely true. Well, timing, of course, you guys, is we can open up the phone lines here in a couple of minutes or whenever. I don't think there's any calls right now. But timing, of course, is always the hardest thing to figure, and I'm not doing that. You hear dates, March 4th, April 15th, or 24th. I'm not going to try to, like I said, I'm not going to try to pick a date. But moving forward, do you see, as far as arrests are concerned, or what they're going to be, whatever next part of the plan is going to be coming up? Because they've got a plan. Like I said, we see where Biden was denied a trip back to the inauguration from federal planes. The Pentagon, of course, snubbed him. These things are going on. These are real things that are going on. So something else is going on besides what we're seeing. Do you think it's going to be weeks, months, days, weeks, or months away before we start seeing what we all want to see, and that's criminals brought to justice for the voluminous amount of crimes against humanity? Kelly, you got any thoughts?
I think this is a Jason question.
Jason.
Well, if we're talking days, weeks, and months, what if we just look back? How many times have you seen an inauguration with a 10-foot high fence with razor wire?
Never.
And military all around? I haven't seen any. But the funny thing is that all the criminals were on the inside. And then you look at how they, the song "Amazing Grace" was sung. You only hear that at funerals. And you see that, like, they were escorted off by military, with Garth Brooks and everything. And even Jennifer Lopez, I mean, you could see it in her face that she knew that was the last time she was ever given a public, any kind of, public, song, speech, anything. So that was her last time being in public. So
there was definitely a lot of fear.
Yes.
They weren't expressing it like when the camera was dead on and they knew it was looking at them. It was all smiles. But man, those other cameras that were like panning, and you could just see they were all very uncomfortable with the situation they were in. But you got a handler, you got to show up when the handler says show up.
That's it. You did the crime.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
yeah, I don't feel bad for any one of them. That's what they chose. And once the public finds out what they've done, just to gain that quote unquote popularity, that's why it's when people say, well, their heroes are, like LeBron James or this or that, and I have a picture of LeBron James and Chris Bosh's daughter, and it makes me want to vomit also. But my heroes were my parents. I mean, they did everything they could to raise me, and they've always done everything that they could, all the self-sacrifice and everything. So your heroes should be your parents, because when you really come to an age where it really hits you, and it really does hit you. And that's why my parents will always be my heroes, my idols. And, just to be like them, I can only hope to be like them. So.
Well, and Dave, you may have a perspective on this because you've been doing this for so darn long, but there are going to be a certain percentage of these people who have been involved since birth, literally since birth, and they've been in these families and they've been victimized. And when I say they don't know any better, it's not like, oh, you're giving excuses to these people. No, literally, folks, they never had a chance. I'm talking like from infancy. These people were sexually abused, and it just went all the way on through right up into whatever. Some of them are stars. Some of them are people you'd probably know. But they have been never had a chance. I mean, we have to have compassion in certain things. There's going to be certain people like that we're going to have some. I know our initial thought is hang them all, right? Hang them all from the highest tree because they're child pedophiles. But what are we going to do about those ones that, like I stated, they've been victimized themselves from birth? And I'm telling you, folks, under 2 months old, like I can't barely even say that without vomiting. But yes, even up to 2 months old and on, they get abused in the worst possible way. And these people need to have we have to have some sort of mercy for these people, is my initial thoughts. Kelly, you being
prime example.
Go ahead.
Anderson Cooper.
That's what I hear. Right?
Let's talk about a big one. Vanderbilt. You know, that if you want to talk about from birth of having to deal with it, that is a prime example. Dave.
Yeah, some of the artwork that has been showing up from the laptops. I forget who the name of the artist is, but there are several different scenes of children that are tied up, and it looks like they're strapped to a tile wall. And that tile wall happens to be the swimming pool at Gloria Vanderbilt's old mansion. I mean, it sure as heck looks like it. I've seen the photographs. I mean, this is some sick
Podesta.
stuff.
I think that's from
and
Podesta.
yes, these people have to be completely vanquished and they have to be cleansed from the face of the earth.
Well, and as much as I would like to have hope for someone that has been subjected to that in their entire lives, the question has to be asked, is it possible to try and for something like that? Like, I don't know what their life details include. Only a certain record would contain that. I don't have access to that, obviously, but being subjected, participating, and becoming a result of, can it be corrected back to what it should be? Is that even an option? Because some would say no. Some would say maybe let's try, to be compassionate, but is it possible? I don't know. It's kind of like maybe sometimes it's better to wipe the slate clean and start over, but it's not my call.
Well, I mean, speaking coming from a biblical sense, and this is not a biblical show, they can, with proper prayer, and if there's a proper intervention, I think those people can be repaired. I don't think, my view, we shouldn't throw them out with it. I'm not saying that's what you're saying. I know you're just asking the question. Again, is their life going to be, it's quality of life, right? I mean, are they going to be so traumatized by what happened that they're going to, and then it's not my choice to make, like you said, but I would certainly like to give it a try. If we do come across those folks, and there's probably a lot of them, I certainly would like to at least, as a society, try to heal them or bring them back if we could. I mean, I just hate we even have to think about that, you guys. I really do. I hate that we even have to have this conversation. It disgusts me. It really does.
Well, I got to jump in there. I mean, I want to take it back 25 years again, because a little while ago we talked about the Oklahoma City bombing. And that's how I got to meet Ted Gunderson, who was the FBI bureau chief for San Francisco, LA, and Houston. And so he was investigating the Oklahoma City bombing, but before that, he had been investigating the child sex trafficking networks that were not just being institutionalized, but they were being industrialized. And that's the horror, is that there are children that are bred underground. They have no birth certificate, no record of their existence. Folks, that's how evil these monsters are. And this is not fantasy. This is not conspiracy theory. People will say, oh, the QAnon, the people are crazy. They think that there's a satanic network and there's pedophiles and they're drinking blood. It's all crazy. It's crazy. No, it's not. It's real. And that's why the mainstream media is doing everything they can to demonize and ridicule the Q movement. Now, I'm not here to say Q is 100%. I'm talking about the child sex trafficking. That is real. And unless people open up their eyes and realize the reality of the situation, it will continue. And like I said, this is just beyond the most horrendous concept that we can think of. People breeding children underground to put on the black market because it brings a lot of money. That's what it's all about. These people, their greed is disgusting.
And Jason, I'd like you to try and clarify on what I'm going to say. This has been happening for generations. This isn't like, just I had a baby and it went underground and it hasn't seen the light of day. Like, these are generations of people that have been born underground, decades and decades and decades. So let's go back 5 generations worth is what they're figuring as an average minimum. 5 generations of humans who have been underground, never seen the light of day. What is that going to do to, as far as like an evolutionary changes in the body, their eyes, the melanin in the skin, even an exposure to the sun itself could be excruciating. you know, when you have to look at the compassion behind those kind of things. This isn't just a small, subtle thing that's been happening. It's massive, and it goes back a long time, and it hurts. It hurts to think about that.
Yeah, it's massive. Well, we have a call. Do you guys want to? We can open up the phone lines if you like. I know we enjoy taking calls. Okay, so there's already one caller on the line. 515-602-9732. It's 515-602-9732. You can see the number right there on the screen. The only real rules of the phone line are really don't. You can have to agree with us. That's no problem. You can disagree. Just don't be abusive, and don't use vulgarity. Other than that, we're, I think, pretty good to go. So we have a call here, 719 area code. I'm going to try to bring up the area code. I've been bringing up the area code. I didn't do it this time, but the area code thing where I can actually find out what people's area codes are. But I'll do that for the next call. So this call right now, 719. Please state your first name and where you're calling from. You're live on the air.
Hi, this is Informed Consent. I'm calling from Colorado.
Hello, Informed Consent from Colorado. Thanks for calling in.
I think that one of the greatest crimes against humanity is to take a child away from his mother. To take a child from the mother is abhorrent. The courts, the family court system, the agents who work in the courts, the agencies who profit from the family court system, the CPS organization, the institutions in the bar, the lawyers, the commissioners, the judges, the police, they are all complicit. I witnessed my husband molesting my 3 sons. And when I reported this to all the proper authorities, I was targeted. I was defamed. I was slandered. I was attacked. And my own family turned against me and testified against me in court. My own mother, my own brother, because they are Catholic in their blood and they are ashamed of me for trying to get help after years of witnessing horrific child abuse. I have been traumatized as a woman, as a mother. My children have been abused. And the re-victimization that this court system has done to my family is a crime against humanity, and they must serve for their crimes. They will serve in eternity. And I have to trust in God because I have no money to fight in this disgusting court. I have nothing to fight with. And God is my witness. My children have been sexually abused. My children have been physically abused. My children have been emotionally and psychologically abused. And it is because of this system. And my husband is considered a man of God. And he will suffer for his crime. And I will never shut up. I will never shut my mouth and die because I know the truth, and the truth will set me free. Thank you for letting me speak. Goodbye.
Well,
God, dear.
That was a quite a way to kick off the calls. I have to tell you, folks. This Critical Disclosure radio show originally was started for CPS and Family Court, and it is as bad as she says. It's a national tragedy. It's a national tragedy, and I've been screaming from the rooftops for 2 years or more, and had hundreds of parents on the show trying to get. I talk to parents like that all the time, guys. I mean, I really do. I know it's.
This is the horror that people are living with, and they've been living with for years and years and years. And you folks out there that have been denying this and saying it's conspiracy theory, or I don't want to hear it, or I don't believe you, you're going to be held responsible too. You absolutely will. Silence is consent. If you hold on to your tongue in this type of injustice, this type of inhumanity, this abhorrent, I can't even find the word. There is no word to describe that type of evil. And if you're going to remain silent and allow this stuff to go on, you're part of it. If you become aware of a lie and you do nothing to expose the lie, you become part of the lie. I will stand in the light, and I hope that every single one of you out there will finally understand how important that is. And I mean that to the left and the liberals and those deniers out there too. Please, for the love of God, for the love of humanity, wake up.
Well, we're praying for you. We're praying for you, listener. And it's a tragedy.
First of all,
go ahead, Kelly.
Caller, thank you for calling in. Second, sorry the tears are here. Thirdly, continue to stay strong. You're not alone. You are supported by all of us. If you ever need to reach out and just talk to another woman, that's what I'm here for. But don't stop fighting. Ever. Ever. It doesn't matter what anybody thinks about another person or says. What matters is that you're standing in your truth, and I commend you for staying as strong and behind your conviction as you have. So thank you.
Okay.
We've got some text coming in here. Some Erica writes in. She says she's worked in the CPS office. She's a social worker, and it doesn't go on in all CPS offices. No, that's not what we're saying.
Right.
But the statistics show that 800,000 approximately children go missing from the CPS systems, from the Child Protective Services. And like I said, it's out of, oh, I'm sorry, no, there's 800,000 children that go missing from the United States. And they're saying that 60% of them are somehow connected to CPS. I'm sorry, I almost got that wrong.
How does one, I think it was a foster care system, if I'm correct. It was like one office lost 15,000 children in a year. How does that happen? That's egregious. It's over the top.
Well,
it's blatant disregard. It's intentional.
I did a video. You can find that on Northwest Subway News, where it was in 2017. There were 18,000 children that went missing from foster care in 1 year. 18,000. And just...
See, I was low. I try and be a little bit conservative on my numbers.
Just gone. Okay, well, Yuma, Arizona. We have Yuma, Arizona on the line here. Let's bring on Yuma and see what Yuma has to say. Yuma, Arizona, thanks so much for calling into the broadcast. Please state your first name.
Hi, Jim. This is Cheryl Beck.
Hi, Cheryl Beck. How are you, Cheryl? Cheryl's been on my show before. Cheryl's talked to Cheryl. She's a friend of mine. Thanks for calling in, Cheryl. I appreciate it.
Hi. Yeah, I'm actually up in the highlands north of Prescott, Arizona, and we're full of snow right now. I thought I would speak to the question of the redemption of the bloodline SRA programmed people. You have to look at this as not just a programming problem, but a spiritual problem too. In the bloodlines, there are certain set ages where you are given a clear choice as to if you're going to continue in the family or if you want to be free. Some families, that's age 29. Some families, it's 39 that I know of personally. Of course, the freedom choice is usually a choice of choosing death. Very few of us actually get free before then like I did. However, people in the chat are asking if med beds would fix these people. The problem is, as we know in the Bible, there comes a point where their hearts are turned to stone and they are really past redemption, in my opinion. Certainly, it's worth a try, but it has to be not just the physical breaking of programming, but also a spiritual redemption.
Agree.
I agree. So you, I mean, Cheryl, I was talked earlier about some of these people that were, and if you guys want to hear Cheryl's interview I did with Cheryl, it was very compelling on Northwest Liberty News. Cheryl, was I accurate when I had when I mentioned earlier that some of these people that are currently right now still in the system have been abused just basically from infancy onward? I mean, this is not an exaggeration when I stated this. Is that correct? Can you verify that?
That's correct. They start actually, some of them in the womb. So, with shocks to the, woman's abdomen itself. So, yes.
Good Lord.
They officially started with me at age 2 with the SRA ritual abuse programming.
Well, this is a whole nother area, folks. That Cheryl, as I said, this may be a point for another show to talk about, because this is such a widespread and diabolical and evil practice that these people engage in. That it's something that deserves, and I've done lots of shows on them, Cheryl. I know that you've spoken out as well, but I think that maybe right now let's maybe I know it's kind of a downer, and I don't mean to be any way to say that, except that it's real and it sucks, and I know I've been dealing with it, as you know, Cheryl, for a couple of years, and how many shows I've done, and I wish we could do something about it right now. And I'm only hoping that what we're doing is trying to wake people up, and that's what the victory, I think, is going to be victory in waking people up and getting enough people to realize what's really going on, and to be as shocked and appalled as we all are here today. That we need everybody to be that shocked and appalled, and then I think we can finally take our children back from these monsters. Any thoughts on that, Cheryl, before I'm going to move on to the next caller, unless you have some things you want to say?
Well, I think what we're looking at right now, especially, with the previous caller with CPS, because, they've threatened to take my grandson twice to here in Arizona. So what we're looking at right now is all these evil systems hopefully coming down. The Catholic Church is notorious for the Luciferianism in it. And that first caller was up against the Catholic Church. We're looking at CPS, another system that's totally infiltrated. Many churches are totally infiltrated with these Luciferians. And I'm just hoping and praying that all these systems come falling down.
Amen to that, Cheryl. We hope that we're right there with you. Let's chat offline, and I probably need to have you back on the broadcast again. I know we've been talking about it. I think I have so much correspondence I can't keep track, but I do want to get you back on the show. Thanks so much, Cheryl, for calling in today. We so much appreciate that. God bless you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you for your contribution.
Bye.
Bye now. Yeah, it's that's some of these things that we've talked about. Cheryl and I have talked about that goes on that we didn't even air. I just couldn't even air it. That's a strong woman right there of faith, and she was able to break out of the whole Illuminati bloodline thing, and she turned to Christ, and she's changed her life, and we're very thankful for her and everything that she's done. So. Okay, let's move on to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you guys want to say? I know everybody's a little bit in shock here, in a sense, probably a little taken back by all this. You guys want to say anything? Anything you guys want to? I hate to just move on and plow through this, but if you guys want to say something, let's flesh it out. Right now's the time.
I think plowing through it helps.
Very good. We'll plow through. Tulsa, Oklahoma, on the line here. Let's bring them on. Tulsa, you're live. Hi, Tulsa. Go ahead. You're live on the air. Please state your first name.
BJ.
Hi, BJ.
Dave, I want to say thank you for bringing up Oklahoma. 95 was a big wake-up call for a lot, but even though it's been 26 years ago, almost. There's people in Oklahoma City right now that doesn't believe the real story. They believe the main story. So I want to thank you very much for pulling up that video footage of the local news. That will show a lot of people of what really happened. Because when you go and look, if you remember, Dave, the mainstream news just constantly put that picture out of that firefighter with that baby girl. That was their photo op for their story, not the truth, not what really happened. And thank God for Ted Gunderson and Chip. I don't know what I could have done without not knowing those two men. And for informed consent, there's a man named Ken Scott. He's got a YouTube channel that is called John Doe. He doesn't last very long. They knock him down and he starts back up again. He knows about the families. He is part of it, and he's got out, and he has fought for his child. And I want you to know, informed consent, my heart is with you. We're all trying. We're small voices, but small voices end up being a big crowd. I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, caller, for calling in.
Yes, justice will be served. It's going to be massive. It is just going to be massive. Because the corruption and the perversion has permeated a huge portion of our society. And it's going to take some time to rout it out. But I want to point something out. Right over here, I have the book of Jasher. Now, the Jasher is mentioned twice in the Bible. It's in 2 Samuel and in the book of Joshua. Now, in my own study of the Bible, I kind of figured, well, gosh, if it's mentioned twice in the Bible, maybe I ought to read this here book of Jasher. So I got myself a copy of this, and it's sort of like the book of Genesis on steroids. For every one page in the KJV, there's 10 pages in here. If you haven't read the book of Jasher, you should get a copy and get yourself an eyeful. Because in here, it talks about the sons of Jacob. And when they had their sister had been kidnapped and taken, I forget the name of the village or the town, but two of the sons of Jacob, it was Benjamin and Levi, the two of these guys went in there and they wiped out the entire town. 350 people, every man, woman, child, dog, goat, chicken, everything. They killed everything. That's called a biblical defeat. When you kill everything, you wipe the slate clean, you are removing the seed. And that, unfortunately, is what has to happen with these sick monsters that have done this. They have to be removed. I mean, we can't survive as a species. Again, I don't want to repeat myself, but we cannot survive as a species if that type of behavior remains in existence. It sounds radical, but what good are those people into this world?
I don't want to live with
them. Oh gosh, it's hate speech now. Oh dear.
I think Jason wants to add something to this.
Jason?
Oh no, nothing. I thought I had something in the book of Yesher, like right around here, because I remember hearing that around here. I thought I had it around here. It's not around here, so I'm not going to go looking for it.
So can we have
But
Arizona?
I do remember something about it.
Oh, sorry, Jason. I thought you were finished.
Oh no. Go ahead.
Arizona, we got another call from Arizona here coming in. Arizona, go ahead and please.
Hello.
Hi, Arizona.
Hello.
Hi, Arizona. Please state your first name.
Hi.
Hi.
Yes, my name's Emily.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for calling into the show.
Hi, I have a question, some questions about the vaccine. I have a son that's 24 now, but he was injured in 1997. He actually got so many vaccines. I didn't know any better at the time as a young mom, and I was like, oh, you have to do this so they can go to school. Just kind of in that whole process, and actually that's what happened. What woke me up with everything was my son's vaccine injury. And so he has what they call transverse myelitis polio, and he gets around with walking canes, and he's leg braces and stuff like that. He's really rigid, and he's just had to deal with that. And I also have a daughter that passed on the same year with cerebral palsy, and I've had nothing but problems with the medical what do you want to call it, establishment, all of it. It's just
Mafia.
horrible. And so I after that happened to my son Jacob, we didn't have any more, they didn't have any more vaccines, and I went down the rabbit hole learning about all that, and I found that they had given him like 2 Hep B shots that day, DTP, Hib, and the oral polio they gave him. It was the live vaccine, and it was also, he wasn't supposed to get that till he was 18 months, and he was only 12 months. When I took him in that day, they called it the well child check, ironically, and then he was never the same, and he just had like so many problems, extreme fatigue, lethargy, and they kept saying, oh, we have to do another spinal tap. He must have had like 7, 8 spinal taps, and they thought he had encephalitis, meningitis, and then it was just nothing, but they just kept asking me, well, when did you notice this? When did you notice this? And I said, well, after the vaccine, he's never been the same. And it's just like they wouldn't listen to me. And the doctors, it was just horrible. But I had to, I was just learning about all that stuff, with the vaccine. And then, of course, I found out the horrors of it and stuff. And like I said, they never received any more. But now it's like he's on his own. He's working. And my other son, thank God, he didn't have any more either. And it was just like, even friends and family, they would still get their kids vaccinated. I couldn't believe they would never ask me. I mean, I tried to say this happened after vaccine, but it's amazing how many people just don't want to listen. They don't care to find out anything more, even in your own family. I was shocked. I mean, it just blows me away. So now, 24 years later, I'm sitting, this whole thing is like such triggering with this vaccine stuff. And you see, we hear some of the stuff coming out like, oh, it's just maybe saline in it, or it's HCQ, but I really hope that it is, that they don't. And my parents, they're wanting to take it. I'm like, I can't believe that they even want to do that, even with their own grandson having this happen, but they're just buying into the whole propaganda. I mean, I'm totally, like I said, went down the rabbit hole, found out about all the other, 9/11, everything going on, and it's just insane it's just insane, our world and stuff, and it's just weird, like even my own family. So that's why I think it's so hard for people to wake up if you don't even have friends and family around that don't even want to talk about it. They just turn a blind eye. It's like, I don't understand, and it's just, I'm scared about that, about like the vaccine. Like I'm trying not to be, like I know that it'll be okay overall, but they won't have any more vaccines, and they're young adults, but for his job, like he moved out last year, and he's working like 2 jobs. He's like really, awesome kid, and just like a really positive kid too. Both of my kids Mia had cerebral palsy, and she was very, very positive, and just loving kids. They were the epitome of love and joy. I mean, the best things that happened to me is just unconditional love. And the thing that it kills me so much is like parents just with the masks, kids with their masks on. And I mean, it's just, to me, I don't understand. It's just so hard seeing all this happening. And then you keep hearing about the vaccine, what's going to happen with that, the tests. And now Jacob in the workforce, for his job, he had to take tests he said, he gets sick every year with the flu, but then for him, they had him, take the tests. And they said, oh, you have COVID-19. And I said, Jacob, that's just like the flu. I mean, I was trying to tell him, but without not trying to boss him around, because you don't want to be when he's a young adult, I don't want to be a parent like that. But he's like, well, I have to do this for my job. And then he stayed home for like 3 weeks, and then they actually had him take another test that he said before he went back to work. And so I just can't believe the insanity of it all, the whole the way the system is.
So let's touch on a couple subjects that you've brought up. Number one, if a vaccine was safe, why would they have zero liability against themselves if something did happen? First and foremost.
That's true.
Second of all,
yeah, that's what I think.
Free will.
I mean, just because of that right there, it tells you everything,
Right. That should be game over and stop. There you go. That's the end of it. I mean, if it was completely safe, then they would be open to taking some responsibility if something did happen. Okay, let's just be honest. That's fact. Second of all, free will. Each individual has free will. That is our God-given right. Nobody can make anybody do anything. All we can do is provide information. So like in regards to your parents, get them information. Why would you take a vaccine if there was an alternative option, HCQ, which has a 1 in 17 billion chance of not working? A 1 in 17 billion. How good are the vaccine percentages? 94, 95%. Let's look at the Strait of Gibraltar that just recently had what? They had 10 COVID deaths until the vac was shown up. And now how many do they have? 73? Huh. That's kind of an interesting statistic, don't you think? You have to show those things. The one thing I have realized more than anything is that you can sit here and scream and preach and tell and show anything you want. You're going to find that one thing that resonates with them that's going to make them see the other side. And if they still don't see it, that's the free will part. You can't control that. My parents, I'm very lucky at, 83 and 69, that they are open to listening to me and showing them and providing them proof on different things. At least they're open to it, that I'm not going to lie to them. As a child, why would I ever tell them something that would be a detriment to them? I don't want them to die. I don't want the inheritance. I want them to live. I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to show them the truth. And what they do with it still from that point is their free will. But if you provide those proofs and it's still, well, so-and-so says it's safe. Well, do you really want to risk your life, your DNA, how you function, getting Bell's palsy or literally convulsions and dying over a possibility? You really want to take that risk? Or do you want to just be patient, let things ride out, or use a different alternative that has a 1 in 17 billion chance of not working? Those odds I like. 94, 95% effectiveness with possible side effects, including death. Yeah, that's not really a good statistic in my eyes. I really don't want to subject myself to that.
Caller, did you have a question? Did you have a question? Did you have a question that you want? We got another caller coming on or on the line.
I just wanted to see. I follow Jason Q all the time too, and I really appreciate him so much. And I wondered if he could tell us anything. I don't know. Like he's said sometimes in the other shows I've seen him, like some about Arcturians possibly helping us out. Would that have anything to do coming up soon, or could this be something to do with this whole, like they don't want to see humanity wiped out with this, like because there's so much propaganda going on in mainstream media, the people that are buying into that? Do you think that something's going to happen with Arcturians or any kind of information?
You talking like Secret Space Force type stuff? Is that what we're talking about?
With the Arcturians, something's got to be happening because they have me sleeping for the past couple of days. And usually I don't sleep at all. So for some reason, I haven't slept or anything for the past 2 days. So so what they're doing is it's got to be, something. Of course, they're not showing themselves or anything, but on the low key, they've got to be doing something with helping others that aren't necessarily on board with us necessarily, but they're starting to get on board. If you notice that more people are now starting to resonate with what we're talking about and where we're going with all this. So they're actually, nobody's allowed to impede on our free will, but they're given somewhat of a carte blanche that says, hey, look, they really need some help. If you can help them, go ahead and give them some help. But not necessarily, impeding on their free will, but like giving them a nice little push. So things are going to now start happening, and it's going to all be for the good, for the goodness and the greatness of humanity.
We've been hit with some massive light energies. If anybody ever checks out that, not on like a daily consistent thing, but the Schumann resonance has been massive energy has been blasting through here, which is, radiating through and affecting us all. Just like Jason had days. This is why you guys didn't see us for a few days. So just because I'm a TMI person, I had like 3 at least days where I literally couldn't get out of bed. I was just absolutely exhausted, day, night, everything, and not sleeping that great. Then I had a massive fall and a self-injury. Dave had the same thing. He was down for around 3 days. Jason had the same thing. Like, there are a lot of us that are, aware of these things, that the energy affects us. And I don't know if anybody else has it, but I have ear ringing. Sometimes it's really, really loud. Sometimes it's not.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My ears ring. It never stops, ever.
It never stops. Well, mine comes and goes. It gets louder. It'll be just like triggered. It'll just be really loud, and then it'll kind of fade away. I've also, for 3 days straight, right here, I had like a pounding, like just constant. And you can't say that it's one thing or another thing, to think that, if there is going to be any kind of quote unquote, like Jason said, interference, it's going to be in a positive manner, to be that little push, that little nudge to help us along the way. Is somebody going to come down and lift the veil and boom, here it is? I don't believe that. That's being incompassionate to humanity as a species, with our emotions and our feelings.
Well, something happened a couple of years ago, last year I think it was, and the year before. There was some pulse that came from deep space. They could not figure out, and two of these pulses came from deep space, and they think it were like 10,000 light years away or something, and I don't even know how they measure all that stuff, how they even know. But at any rate, they said it was so far out in space that they could not determine its origin, but it came twice and like washed over Earth, the pulse. Now you couldn't visibly see it. I mean, these are things that aren't, you can't see with the naked eye. Are you guys familiar with that? How they had those 2 pulses? I think there was 2, at least 1 for sure, 2, maybe even 3. Did you guys know about them talking about the pulses that came here? Was it a year ago or so, 2 years ago, that washed across the Earth? Did I dream that? You guys heard of that?
No, I have heard of it. I did hear of it. Yes, I did. There were 2 or 3 of them that it actually covered the Earth, and then it would like ring the Earth like a bell. It would be like a bell ringing. And it was really weird, because when you hear of it now, you're just like, oh, there is something to this, because from an extended point of view, because you can't do it all at once. It all has to do in stages. If you do it all at once, you're defeating the purpose. If you do it in stages, people do better in stages. So if you do it in this stage, then you see how it helped the people during that stage, and then they would do the next stage, and then the next stage, and then go on from there. So I did hear about it though, James.
Good. I still have my sanity. Okay, we have another, at least for today, we have another call here coming in from Albany, New York, the great state of New York. Let's bring Albany on the line. New York, you are live on the air. Please state your first name. New York, you're up.
Rita?
Hello, Rita?
Hello?
Hi, is this Rita?
Yes.
Hi, Rita. This is Jim.
Oh,
You're live on the air.
I am so happy to get through to you.
Great.
First of all, everything the woman said about CPS is absolutely the truth. CPS in Vermont took the most amount of children other than one other state. CPS can't take Indian children from their families under the laws of ICWA protection, yet they do it constantly. They say they're not Indian children. I have a letter from the tribe that said they are. And all 4 parents gave me POA to adopt my 4 grandchildren, yet CPS took them and broke all the ICWA and federal and state law protections and policies. I'm fighting still. It's been since 2015. I have proven to the court they even changed their birth date and separated all 4 and put them up for adoption. The audit showed they put them in no criminal background checks, unlicensed foster homes. It was a violent foster home. The kids saw the foster parent beat up in front of them. Then they claimed the kids were acting out when they left hundreds of lice in their heads. I was fighting the whole time to protect my babies. I got the law of de facto passed, and then people got behind me, and the government passed ICWA is no longer an opinion on the federal books. It is now a federal law. They cannot take Indian children from their families on falsified reasons, which is why they took my grandchildren, and I proved it to the court. Unbelievable evidence. I had their DCF file. They still have not returned my children. I'm the de facto parent. I'm the grandma, but I raised those kids because CPS asked me to. They asked me to raise the kids, said I was a successful kinship caregiver foster parent, yet still took the kids, claiming that I was a schizophrenic, a false diagnosis, which I have my true diagnosis from a professor of Harvard. He took the stand in court, and they still did not give back the kids.
Carla, did you have a specific question that you wanted to field, that you wanted us to field for you regarding any of this stuff?
Look, this is what is going on. Just like the woman that was talking about CPS taking her children that were being sexually abused. Well, my grandchildren are in gifted program. Palmer's, my last name. Palmer's gifted program for gifted children. They were doing amazing academically. I have all the school's reports. They came to my house and did an illegal seizure of my grandchildren and made them go live out in my shed with no heat. My daughter became the youngest person in the history of Vermont to develop COPD. She was being rushed by emergency from one hospital to the other when she turned blue because CPS made my grandchildren live in my shed that had no utilities and no heat. I have proof of every single thing I'm saying in the records, in their records. The evidence is their own records. They changed their birth dates. They prefabricated court dates. They provided no legal counsel. This is common practice. They're all in cahoots, the agencies. They do this all the time. They get major funding from the government for stealing children, especially Indian children like my grandchildren. I have a letter from the tribe saying I was to have the children. He didn't want them separated. My daughter signed POA, and all the Indian parents and even the kids wrote letters saying they wanted grandma to have them. They still gave them to violent foster homes that were unlicensed with no criminal background checks where criminals were living. This is unfreaking believable.
And unfortunately, you know, we hear stories like this.
There's been federal lawsuits filed in Vermont, federal court, many this year. Even some of the agencies, the Parent Representation Center wrote 900 pages that they've got to stop kidnapping children on false allegations, providing no due process, no constitutional protections, and they do TPRs without even notifying the parents. Behind the Indian parents' backs, they're stealing children, not even notifying them. The state, the attorney general gets in bed with the court, and they're stealing children without even notifying the parents. This is unbelievable. It's no big mystery how they're doing this. They're getting hundreds of
these are all
thousands
stories.
of dollars for every child.
We're hearing stuff like this all the time.
Caller, we're going to put you on hold for a second. Go ahead, David.
I was just going to say, what this poor woman is explaining has become standard operating procedure when it comes to, and I'm not saying all CPS workers are evil. You know, that's like saying, you know, all FBI agents are bad or all, you know, you can't make a generalization like that. But we do know, and it's an irrefutable fact, that the concept of family does not do the deep state any good whatsoever. They want everybody to be nannies. They want everybody to be dependent upon the state. And they want to destroy any semblance of family that there is so they all become wards of the state. That's the whole point of this whole thing. And it's horrific, the methodology that the powers that be are using to accomplish this disgusting goal. But you folks out there listening right now, you're starting to hear firsthand accounts of how these unfortunate souls have to deal with these monsters taking their children away. And this is, again, this is a systemic problem that we have in our society that I really hope and pray, and we all better pray and pray hard, that this is going to be coming to an end soon.
Well, and it's another example, and this is in no way a light-hearted comment, showing the system is rigged against them. The court systems, the lawyers, the judges, CPS, everything is rigged for the parents and the children to lose and for the other side to win. And what they want is they want the kids. And they especially want the Native American and the darker colored skinned children because of the melanin. And I'm sorry, it's not a fact I like bringing up, but it is a fact that you just have to understand that from the second it happens, the system is rigged against you.
It's also the blood as well. The Native American children had their blood is more valuable to them. Caller, caller, do you have anything else you want to say? We have the callers that are waiting on the line. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go?
Yes. Two things. One, ICWA protects Indian children. They're not allowed to take Indian children from their families. I have the chief's letter. They ignored the chief's letter, but they tried to say they never received it. I have the date stamped court copy. They received it. They tried to say they weren't Indian children and ICWA did not apply in Vermont. I've got both proof of both things. They changed their birth date. I haven't been in my home in Carolina since 2015. I've been up here fighting all this time. I have all my proof gotten through the courts. I have evidence of everything. I'm the first one to ever have this kind of evidence. My life has been in danger several times.
What? This is the thing that I hate asking, but I mean, if you have all this evidence and you've provided all of it to the court, if the court isn't against you, how come you don't have your children yet?
Okay, I had to put the caller on hold.
She's not hearing you. She's still talking.
I dropped the call. Okay.
Oh, shit.
I dropped the call. Sorry. So, all right then. Yeah, the thing that we can take from this is, do you see the emotion that's involved with what goes on with CPS? And again, folks, I've talked to hundreds of parents and done shows with hundreds of parents. You can look on Northwest Liberty News. This is a constant. It doesn't matter if it's in Iowa, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Montana, California. It makes no difference. The program is the same. They have a program that they run, and ultimately the end result is you don't have your children anymore. They're put into the system, and terrible things sometimes happen to these children. They get ripped out of perfectly good homes. You can see, guys, you can see the emotions behind these. This is it's a nation, it's a national tragedy, is what it is. There's no doubt about it.
It's a cancer.
It's a cancer,
and it needs to be removed. And if it has to be done surgically or any other way, chemically, whatever, but this is a cancer to our society, to our species, that must be eradicated. I mean, it's gone on for too many centuries, and it's been swept under the rug and ignored for way too long. And anybody who still says, oh, that Pizzagate stuff is a conspiracy theory, raise your hand and slap yourself real hard with it.
Yeah. Okay, we have Virginia on the line.
Jason's been real quiet. I know that you've been taking a lot of this stuff. And I'm curious to know what's going on in your head right now, Jason.
You know what? That first caller just, it definitely, yeah.
It affected me too.
Yeah, I just much rather just keep quiet, because I don't want to go on any kind of rampage. I just much rather just take it all in this time. So.
Fair enough.
I don't think any of us today were expecting these kind of calls, personally.
But I do appreciate it, because I mean, it does, you know, it gets it out there, and it does inform people that this does go on. that this is for real. People thinking that this is some kind of conspiracy. This is some kind of thought up imagination through our heads that we enjoy talking about this. We really don't. But, you know, it's the elephant in the room. I mean, we have to discuss this. And whether it's, you know, discussed, you know, by her explaining her whole story, and the stories are, you know, after that, it just, it hits a spot where, you know, I'd much rather just let others speak. And, you know, for that case, I just much rather just, you know, just take it all in and just.
Fair enough, my brother.
Go about it that way.
It's all good. It's all good. Everybody deals with this. Everybody deals with it their own way. It's a difficult thing. Trust me. My wife can tell you. My wife can tell you. Okay, Richmond, Virginia. You're on the line. Richmond, Virginia. Thanks so much for calling in. Please state your first name.
TJ.
TJ? Hi, TJ. Thanks for calling in the show. Okay.
Yes, I have a little lighter bit of a question. My sister and I are the only two that are awake in my family of 7. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but at night, like when you get up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and you go to the restroom and you look outside, if you look up at the sky, and I'm not talking about when the moon is out, but it's getting brighter. I don't know if that's just me, and this is not just this month. It's been 6 months, been getting lighter and lighter and lighter. I can see the tool shed at the end of my property line, and I don't remember seeing that 6 months ago. I needed a flashlight.
I haven't. You could be right. You know, it's one of those things where you don't really observe that naturally or normally. I don't. But yeah, I'm not disputing it. You could be onto something. What do you guys think? I have no reason to disbelieve her. It's certainly possible. Nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me. If a spaceship landed from outer space and started building a colony, it wouldn't surprise me here on the Earth. Anyway, sorry to interrupt. Go right ahead.
That's okay. I video the moon and I photograph nature, so I tend to notice things more than most people will ride by some geese flying over the bridge, or I mean they just ride on by and they don't even notice anything. And maybe I notice things a little bit more. And you know, every time I would get up and I'd ask my husband, I said, "Is it just me?" And he looked and he said, "Damn, no, you don't need a flashlight. I can see what you're talking about." So it wasn't just me. But the last 6 months also, I've been off balance. I haven't fallen, but I went to the doctor and they were baffled and they kept sending me to another doctor and another doctor. And finally, I just decided to cancel all appointments because I don't think anything wrong. It must be ascension. So I just canceled all the appointments.
Okay, caller, did you have a question that you wanted to ask specifically for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if I was the only one that noticed the sky besides me and my husband. Nobody else seems to notice.
I'm totally in agreement with you, caller. I totally agree with her. It has been getting much lighter out at that time of night, day, because usually when I'm up, usually all the time, but you'll look outside and for some reason it'll look like it's almost like turning daylight. And it's like, it shouldn't be getting that light at that time. You know, usually it's the dark of night, but as you can see, even across the whole sky, you know, so it could be something having to do with, I mean, it could be a myriad of things, but you know, it is getting light out. It definitely is. So you're not losing your mind, or you know, you are very much correct.
And I think
we got several chats coming in on Facebook. People are agreeing. I got somebody from Scotland just said, "Yeah, we noticed that too over here." So the people aren't making this stuff up.
And that's something that honestly, where Dave and I and James live, you know, that's something that's very common in the middle of the night for it to be light enough that you can literally walk around and see everything. It depends on the time of the month, of course, where the moon phases are, but I definitely can agree that I've noticed a lot of different changes in different things. The moon, the sun, the stars, patterns. There's just been things that's, look up, start paying attention. How does the moon disappear for a couple weeks? Like 2 weeks. It was just gone. It wasn't overcast. So but not everybody sees it. Not everybody's taking account on like a daily of what exactly they're seeing on different transitions. It's just like, oh, that's different. That's odd. That isn't normally that way. And that's what makes you see it and just paying attention to it to continuously. But you're not alone, hun. We're all seeing all sorts of different things all around the world.
We've only got about 10 minutes left on the show here before we're finished. And I just want to, just for sake of coming towards the end here, I'd like to get your guys' view on something. How would, and of course, no one knows the future, and doing time, timing and stuff is always difficult. But for this exercise, if you guys will just indulge me for a minute, let me know, how do you think this place is going to look in a month, in a year, and 10 years? If you had to say, how we're going to, what we're, us right now in America here, and even worldwide, but more specifically here, what do you think things are going to be in a month, a year, and 10 years? Kelli, I'm going to throw that at you, and I'll answer my own. I can actually go first to give you guys, because I hit you with the question. So I think in a month I believe we're going to have hopefully some arrests are going to be made. In a year we're going to have a new, I think, republic, and I think probably Donald Trump is going to be the one running it. And within 10 years, I think we're being able to travel in space in some aspects. Maybe not far space, but maybe even close. I don't know. Maybe people think I'm crazy, but that's my thoughts. Anybody else want to jump in?
And I would love to say I definitely agree that the next month, 2 months, who knows, we're in for a roller coaster still. This is far from over, you guys. A year from now, I'd like to see some people, if not the humanity, to be able to have a little bit of peace and to be able to rest and not be as frustrated and confused and emotional and everything, and to just find some happiness within the next year and 10 years. I mean, the possibilities are endless of what or where we could be or how we are there. I can't speculate. I have my own visions and dreams of what I wish for, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we're going to get. But I can hope.
Indeed. Fellas, you guys got any thoughts on that? You want to skip? You want to pass? Want to take a pass?
Go, Jason.
Well, a month or two, I can only, hope that everybody starts coming together peacefully. This whole conspiracy theory, this all starts getting laid to rest, and the whole, conspiracy factor, people start understanding that, no matter who's right or wrong, the truth will always be there. Because not many people, more people are concentrated more on what their daily life, what happens in their daily life, not what happens in other daily lives, or what happens in world events. But once they all start coming together and they start understanding that, there's more to life than just what happens in your daily life or what happens in their daily life. It's everybody combined, what happens in everyone's combined life. And all we can hope for is that, everybody understands that, everybody's doing this for peace. We're not out there, doing this for malicious reasons. We're not trying to hurt anybody, trying to, put anybody through any kind of pain, anybody through any kind of suffering. We're just trying to help people through. This is the hardest part, is just learning the truth and understanding that, all of us have got to go through this one person, one bit at a time. So if we all go through it, all together at one time, it's going to make it much easier later on down the road, because then we can always turn to the next person and say, hey, if they have a question, then they can ask the question and we'll be able to help people. And, 10 years down the line, who knows what could happen, but all I know is that it's going to be way better than what it is now. So as long as we can all resonate that, yeah, right now it's hard, but going later on down the road, it's going to get a lot easier, because once we all understand the truth and once we all know what is actually going on, what happened to us, what has been going on for us, and what has been happening to us, that we had the ability to actually stop it and say no more. We do not consent. We do not consent to any of this. And we turned the ship right around and said, you know what? No, we the people, we can do better than this. And we are going to do better than this. Because that's as long as we all stick together and as long as we're all united, there's nothing that can stop us. So.
Well said.
Thanks.
Anything, David?
Well, I think that we can all agree that the next few weeks, next couple of months, it's really hard for anyone to say exactly how things are going to unfold. What has come to the surface over this past year is the exposure of, I guess, what some people could call the beginning stages of the Battle of Armageddon, because we are facing the classic battle between good and evil, and we're seeing it all around us. And my own personal feeling is that the exposure, the unveiling, if you will, of the world sex trafficking networks and all the stuff that goes along with it, I believe that this one issue is got to be the number one front burner, red letter, underline, bold type issue that we've got to deal with, because all of the other ones are manipulated by that one. Okay, and I think that unless this is taken care of, as people find out what's been going on all this time, I really don't want to see civil unrest. I really don't want to see, any type of civil war between the liberals and the conservatives or whatever. But I think that I don't think anybody can disagree, and I don't care, what your political stand is when it comes to sex trafficking, torture. I mean, any of these things, that's got to be cleaned up. I don't care where you stand. Once we get that cleaned up, I mean, all the way from top, all the way down, all the way to the local level, because I don't care what town you live in, what village you live in, there are corrupted individuals that you are in the immediate vicinity of. There are judges, there are lawyers, there are, business leaders, there are, law enforcement people that are involved in this. One way or another, either they're directly or indirectly, or they're turning their a blind eye to it. It has to be cleared up, and I really do believe that if that is cleared up, everything else will fall into place.
Well, we're just running out of time here, and I'll start first with this. If you want to find out more about this broadcast and what I have going on, you can go to criticaldisclosure.com or northwestlibertynews.com. Jason and Dave and Kelli, you guys can give out any Facebook pages, YouTube channels, anything like that. If people want to reach out to you, email addresses, or whatever you guys want to do. I'll start with you, Jason.
Well, funny thing is that the last show that we had, I was knocking on wood that my Facebook page would not be removed, and wouldn't know it, the next day it was actually removed. So I finally got it back. Was it yesterday? So it's under Jason Q Janiszewski, and how much longer it's going to be up for, that's up for debate. But they're actually thing. Yeah, it's an hourly thing, it seems. But there actually is another social media site called AmericanSocialMedia.us that's just starting out. A patriot from Florida put up $15,000 of his own money to start it up. and it's shaped just like Facebook, and it has just like the whole outline of Facebook. So we'll be able to add to it, and there's a lot of things that are still in the building phases, but at least we'll have a place where we can all go, and we can we can even bring
Here comes our gal.
90 seconds.
There she is.
Okay.
That's our gal. That's our gal. I can't stop her.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead, Kelly.
You can find me on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, and American social media, US as well, all under Kelli Higgins or Beneficial Confections. I'm working on BitChute. My email address is on all of those, so you can find it there rather than have me rattle it off.
Dave vonKleist, we're just low on time.
60 seconds.
60 seconds, my friend. Where can we go?
Well, I don't have anything to promote. I have nothing to sell. I've been sort of out of the picture for a little over a decade. It's just now I'm starting to get back into the public eye again. And I do it simply because it needs to be done, not because I have anything that I want to sell or anything I want to promote. And because if you're in it for, the ego stroke or the accolades or the praise, or if you're in it for the money and for the advancement of your career, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Just do it because it's the right thing to do.
Just out of time. Thanks, David. Thanks, everybody, for coming on today. I'm your host, James White. We'll be back next time. And until next time, this is James White speaking for Dave vonKleist, Kelli Higgins, and Jason Q, saying bye now.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.